All right, everybody, these lights are so bright, but you can't blind me. Okay, I am going to apologize to all the Swifties out there. That is not my name might be Taylor, but that is not my forte. I will perform like nobody's business, but I never said it was going to be Taylor Swift worthy singing. I don't sing in the car, I perform. Like, if anybody has ever been on road trips with me and I'm the driver, I am always vibing. My husband says I am like that woman, that character from Heartbreak Kid with Ben Stiller. It's so true. But you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, right? That's how you stay awake on the road when you're by yourself. You know, you learn to entertain yourself when you start to get highway vision. Anyways, we've got a brand new Q&A coming your way. This is the part of the podcast where I answer questions from you, the fans, on my YouTube channel. So if you're going to want to get involved with the interactive awesomeness that is Q&As with Taeler Hendrix, here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to go to the link on one of the sides here. Head on over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TaelerHendrix. You're going to hit the subscribe button, scroll down to the latest Q&A video, hit the thumbs up button, and comment your question in the comments below that video for your chance to be featured on not just my YouTube channel, but also my podcast, Talks with Taeler Hendrix, on russosbrand.com, which airs every single Tuesday as part of the brand family. You get 2, and it's awesome, and honestly, I can't think of a better deal in the podcasting world, because with russosbrand.com, for less than a large Starbucks cup of coffee, you get so much content. And I'm talking about content from all kinds of different people, all kinds of different varying levels of success, with so many different viewpoints and uniqueness, and it's crazy, it's cool. You're not going to find a better deal, even if you just subscribe for my podcast. Wink. No, but seriously, you've got Al Snow, you've got Vince Russo, you've got Cash Ray and the Marks, you've got Stevie Ray, Ben Amin, Goldilocks, you've just Shelly Martinez. You've got so much crazy awesome content, from live streams to podcasts to feature videos to rants and so much more. So without further ado, let's dive right on into the latest Q&A here. This one's going to be a relatively quick one in comparison, because I noticed so much of the podcast ended up being, you know, just me vibing with you all with my Q&As, and I know people want more than just that on my podcast, so we gotta make it work. We gotta make it work. Okay. So the first question, someone asked me, again, I think people like asking me this question, but I don't mind. They asked me what was the last song I heard before taping this podcast. I remember exactly the song, because as soon as it started, I was like, oh, I want to hear the song, but I got to keep to my schedule and start the podcast. It was Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl. I love that song. I vibe to that song. I love Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon Zombie. So that was the last one. Another person asked me if I watched SummerSlam. Unfortunately, I did not, but I looked at a lot of the reviews from people that are fans, people that are critics, and so forth, and it seems like people gave it like a B+, borderline A- for SummerSlam, which is really kind of cool. I also saw an article, I don't remember if it was from Fightful or not, and it said it was the highest watched SummerSlam of all time, which is crazy considering how much ratings have been in decline over the last 10 years. So that's huge. That's huge for WWE. It's huge for Endeavor Group. It's huge for the merger. I am really excited about that as an investor. So to me, that's just really, really amazing. But I did tune in to see Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. I love Nate so much. I just love his vibe, like his take no shizit attitude, like 0 F's given. I love that. I remember one time I made a tweet, I was like, I think Nate Diaz is pro wrestling, and people didn't understand what I meant by that, but that's legitimately what I meant like that. Like, I don't pull any punches anymore. I give 0 F's, and I'm just me. Take it or leave it, I really don't care. So, like, my goals don't care about your feelings. You know, so that's just pretty much, you know, if you're not contributing to my bank account, my happiness, or my overall well-being, then I really don't care. Yeah, and that is what it is. But yeah, I was not disappointed in that fight. I did want more action, but you know, when you consider that Jake Paul is going up against, you know, people that aren't boxers, I think this is really cool. And I thought Nate did very, very well. After all, it was his idea to go 10 rounds and not 8. And he was just, you know, he had that swagger the whole time, and he didn't get knocked out like what was predicted. So that was really, really awesome. It was actually really, really cool that Logan Paul made it just in time to see his brother win. That was awesome. He was still vibing from, you know, the huge win at SummerSlam. So huge congratulations to them and the Logan Paul and Jake Paul, and there's a door open to see Nate Diaz and Jake Paul in an MMA UFC style fight. So I'm really hoping to see that. All right, next thing, someone asked me, you talk a lot about, hold on, I can't read my writing here. You talk a lot about getting healthy and eliminating toxins and different things from your environment. I want to do this, but I am lost and find it overwhelming. What can you suggest? Okay. First things first, you are totally valid in not only wanting to start this journey of eliminating like carcinogens and genotoxins and all kinds of endocrine disruptors and all kinds of other, you know, buzzwords that you hear on the internet and all this other stuff. You are totally valid in wanting to do that. I highly suggest more of you do that. And I also want to say that you are not, like, your feelings are completely, sorry, my allergies. Your feelings are completely valid with being overwhelmed. I was also extremely overwhelmed. It is a lot to take in when you consider like the toxic chemicals in your food and your water and your clothes and your detergents and your cleaning products and your air. It is all insane. And then we wonder why babies are being born more toxic than ever. And then we wonder how breast milk with women who are on such strict diets for being pregnant are somehow having breast milk that is tainted with 20 or more different flame retardants and other carcinogenic chemicals that are then getting passed into the baby. You know, and formula, you know, is very similar. So we wonder why all these things are happening, but we're not really getting to the root causes. So I would say start with one thing at a time. If you make so many changes, you're not actually going to know what works for you and what doesn't. So start with one thing. I started with little simple changes that weren't going to completely disrupt my lifestyle, and that to me was so much better than just a complete overhaul, because that is so expensive, it's time consuming, it's hard, you need to create the habit first, and then your habit makes you. We talk about this all the time on motivation. So the first thing I did was switch out my deodorant to something that didn't have all kinds of chemicals literally getting absorbed into a very porous area on your body. That was very easy to change. Didn't really cost me that much more money, to be honest with you, and I needed far less, and I use it less because I don't need it as much, because I am not filling that area with chemicals, if that makes sense. Another thing, the second thing I did was start looking at my body washes and my shampoo and conditioner. Certain shampoos and conditioners have, I think it's lauryl sulfate or sodium, something like that. I think it was something lauryl. And that contributes to hair loss and things like that. And so, and obviously all these other chemicals that are indirectly getting absorbed through your skin, through your pores, and all this other stuff. Then I moved towards my toothpaste, getting something that was fluoride free and not chemicals that I was slowly ingesting. The next thing I did was starting to look at my makeup. Now that was a little bit more difficult, but slowly over time, now I'm not ingesting things like arsenic in lip gloss or, you know, different things like that. So that's where I started. And then after that, I started looking at my home. I started being very careful with certain things like air fresheners, which pet owners, you know, were very guilty of. I also started looking at the chemicals that were in my soaps, in my disinfectants, in my sprays, and I actually started making my own thing that I can pretty much clean my whole house with, which was white vinegar, water, and dish soap mixed together. I clean my windows with that for streak free. I clean my counters, my floors, all of that stuff. And I don't have to worry about my animals getting sick or me with having lung disease, you know, breathing something terrible in, which contributes to a toxic environment. Those are the places that I started. The next thing I want to do, but I have not done yet, is switch out my products that I use for laundry. I want to eliminate using dryer sheets and instead opt for wool dryer balls, because I had no idea how toxic the stuff is in dryer sheets. No idea. We grew up using them, you know. We never really thought about that. The other thing that I want to do is switch out the detergent after finding out that the bottles aren't really truly recyclable, and how much chemicals are actually in the detergent itself as well as the container. Then the next thing I want to do is slowly eliminate plastic microwave safe stuff, because apparently it's not really. There was a new thing that came out that the FDA was misinformed about, apparently. And so a bunch of per square inch or centimeter of plastic, there's a certain amount of chemicals that come out during the heat of that stuff, and it seeps from the chemicals into your food, and then you're ingesting it. Within like an hour or two of ingesting it, they find like microplastics and nanoplastics in your brain. So those are the places that I would start, and you can build from there. But I always say, do your own research. Don't trust me. Do your own research. Another person asked me, let's see here, my allergies. They asked me, oh, this is a really interesting question. Okay. They say that they are a single dad with a daughter, and they feel like they are, you know, just losing every single day, and feel like they're failing and are lost and don't really know what to do, and any advice would greatly help. I would love you guys to join in on this question. I think the Taeler Army community is absolutely amazing, and I am apologizing for the sniffles. There is so much pollen right now. Okay, first things first. If you feel like you're losing every single day and you feel like you're at a loss, I think honestly that's parenthood. And I don't mean to take that lightly or be sarcastic, because I'm not a parent, but I'm a little girl that wished she had a great dad and had a present dad in her life. And I think the role of dads is drastically underrated in today's society. I think everybody glorifies motherhood and not enough people glorify fatherhood. Fatherhood is so important. You are a foundational example. I don't even know if that's a word, but you are the foundation. You are the example of what type of man your daughter is ultimately going to want to seek out in a future partner someday. And that is so special. You have such a pivotal, fundamental role in her overall confidence as a young lady. You are going to be teaching her what she deserves, and what respect looks like, and what true love and integrity and all these different amazing, priceless values are going to represent in her partner. That's a huge responsibility, but it's also a discipline, and I think discipline is missing from today's society. You know, if you're motivated and I'm disciplined, we're not the same. Okay, discipline, we'll be talking about this later on in this episode, but discipline, people often think of it as such a negative thing. It's not. Discipline can show healthy boundaries. Discipline can show self-love. Discipline can show respect. Discipline is a consistency of falling in love with the process of excellence. That's a lot of what discipline actually is, instead of such a negative thing. And so if you feel lost, you are not the only one, okay? And you're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but when you do mess up, hold yourself accountable. You have no idea what sort of expectation, validation, and integrity and morals it is going to instill in your daughter. And this goes for anybody, whether you're a single dad or you know, married with multiple kids, it does not matter. This goes for everybody. If you hold yourself accountable and you get on their level and apologize and explain to them why you're sorry and why it was wrong and how you're going to try to do better going forward together, you have no idea what type of a positive you know, role that accountability is going to play in their lives, because they are going to subconsciously learn holding their own selves accountable the way you did, and expecting other people to do that, and not accepting people's narcissistic BS when they get older and they go out into the world as young adults. And that is sadly sorely lacking. Don't be afraid to protect her. If she gets mad at you now, one day she is going to thank you for it. I can't tell you how many girls I have met personally that have horror stories about things that should have never happened at sleepovers. So, you know, do not be afraid to be strict. Make sure there's rewards, but also don't be afraid to protect your child, because nobody in the world is going to protect your child better or more diligently and loyally than you. Nobody. And in a time where children are at the most risk, like, you are so important, okay? As a single parent, you know, you feel like you have to try to do it all, but there's going to be some compromise. Be honest, have an open line of communication, create that bond, and remember, you are irreplaceable, okay? And don't just allow, I'm going to assume that your orientation is towards women. I apologize if this is wrong, but I'm just going to assume based off of the context in your question that you didn't really say, but you implied. Make sure that you don't just allow any woman in there just for the sake of your daughter having a mother. Just like not all men are created equal in value, so too are women, okay? And what I'm trying to say that might not sound great is, Not everyone has the best intentions for you and your child. I experienced this, and I know tons of other people that have experienced this in step parents. Think with this, okay? And watch with this. Don't just listen, but watch. Because a lot of times, you know, it's easy to fool people short term. But those things last 90 days, if not. And you'll start seeing cracks, because people can only pretend to be something they're not for so long before they start showing you who they really are. Just make sure that you protect your child. Now, don't say, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. That's a terrible way to live. You know, things have to happen to you, but that doesn't mean that they have to be bad things. But don't forget, downtimes are when we create the most gumption as human beings. That's where character and fortitude and tenacity and resilience. All right? Do not be afraid to let your child work hard for things that they want, instill a work ethic and an integrity and a moral compass and love and compassion and empathy and intelligence. Make her self-sufficient until she can find somebody to trust and rely on that is the right person for her. That's what I would say. So I hope that helps, and thank you so much for trusting myself and the Taeler Army to answer that question for you.